Good afternoon. Welcome to the regular meeting of the New Ulm Planning Commission, New Ulm, Minnesota, Thursday, December 18, 2014, 4:30 p.m. First item of business is election of officers.
If I can just make some preliminary comments. The city code requires the planning commission to conduct the election of officers at their first regular meeting in December of each year. The commission's current officers are chair is Larry Mack, vice chair is Bob Skillings, and secretary is Cheryl Meyer. Bob Skillings has served 2 terms and cannot be reappointed to the commission in 2015. As a result, a new vice chair must be elected. Also to be addressed is Larry Mack's membership status on the Planning Commission. This matter should be resolved by the City Council at their January 6, 2015 meeting. For this reason, I would recommend continuing the election of officers until the January meeting.
I'll make that motion and move that we continue the election of officers for this commission until the first meeting of January.
I second.
Any discussion?
Yes, we have to replace the vice chair, so is there a particular reason that we can't appoint a vice chair prior to that?
That would be up to the the commission as to what you would like to do. But I think maybe to, do your whole slate of officers at one time would, be the easiest thing to do. What happens is the people in their current positions just carry over. If for some reason we would no longer, our chair would no longer be a member of the Planning Commission, we also wouldn't have a vice chair, then it would fall to the secretary to at least, start the meeting, and then we would conduct the election of officers at that time.
That would be my question, because we know Mr. Skillings can't come back,
That's correct.
and Mr. Mack is going to be going to the council. We have no clue what the council is going to do.
Right.
So our next meeting, who would be in charge to start the meeting?
The secretary would,
The secretary would.
Cheryl Meyer.
Okay.
And if for some reason she weren't here, we would elect a temporary chair. And we've done that a number of times in the past. So it's not unusual.
So the new members would also be sworn in then?
Yes, they would. So they would have the right to vote as well. Yeah. I might note that the Heritage Preservation Commission also delayed the election of officers because they had a couple of new appointments coming on and, wanted those people to be seated, for the election. They're losing a couple of their officers as well, so.
Yep.
Any further discussion? We have a motion and a second. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? None being said. Next item of business. Item 2, consider for the approval the final plot of the State Street Theater subdivision. We'll look for staff for report.
Okay, the applicant is Senate LLC. The current legal description of the property is Block 106 north of Center Street. Street address is 15 North State Street. The property is zoned R2 single and 2-family residence district. Status of the plat: the City Council approved the preliminary plat with conditions at its December 2nd, 2014 meeting. The property is bounded by Center, North State, First North, and North Washington Streets. There is no alley in Block 106 North. The plat would create 2 lots with the following lot areas. Lot 1 would have 85,817 square feet. That's 1.97 acres, or 70% of the block area. Lot 2 would contain 37,077 square feet, or 0.85 acres, which is 30% of the block area. The total area within the block is 122,895 square feet, or 2.82 acres. The new property line which would separate lots 1 and 2, would proceed from North Washington Street in an easterly direction through the building, turn south at the southeast corner of the building, and end at Center Street. If you look at the aerial photo, I have drawn on that photo the approximate location of that dividing line.
Like that.
Lot 1 is a proposed location for a residential housing project, and Lot 2 would continue to be used as a theater, auditorium, and parking lot. The building on the property is used by the school district and various community organizations. The property was previously used for school purposes. Residential units adjoin the property on the west and north side, residential and institutional uses to the east, and the Brown County Courthouse to the south. Properties to the northwest and south are zoned R2. Property to the east is zoned B1, which is limited business district. The current comprehensive plan designates the property for public/semi-public land uses. The comprehensive plan does not designate a park within the platted area. Utilities to serve the site generally surround the block. Status of conditions required for plat approval. Number 1 is payment of the platting fee of $179. That payment has been made. Payment of the parkland dedication fee of $330. That payment has been made. Provide an electronic file of the plat in an AutoCAD 2000 or newer format. That file is pending. Secure a side yard setback variance. The application for the variance has been submitted and will be considered at a meeting of the Board of Zoning Adjustment on Tuesday, December 30th. And then enter into a development agreement. The agreement is pending. Attached is a copy of the final plat and an aerial photograph of the property. Staff would recommend approval of the final plat subject to the completion of the conditions. I should note that the next step in the approval process after its consideration at this meeting is a public hearing before the City Council, and that will be held at either the first or second council meeting in January.
Very good. All right, item 3.
We should take a motion.
We should take a motion.
Yeah, we should approve.
I move we approve the final plat.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
I just wanted to ask some questions.
Oh, discussion. Yeah, go ahead, Bob.
I was curious, is the north hallway to the auditorium part of the property line? Or, I mean, is that part of the lot, what would it be, 1 or, no, lot 2? Do you know what I'm talking about?
The north hallway is part of the theater auditorium lot.
Okay.
Yeah. It's actually the outside of that wall.
Okay.
So there's a jog as you enter the building, and then it must follow a wall to generally where the front of the auditorium addition is, where it then proceeds in a southerly direction, and then where it hits the old building, it follows that wall to the east, right to the corner, and at the corner then it turns to Center Street.
I'm curious, why didn't it go, that line go all the way to State?
You would have to ask them that question. I think the reason is that for this residential complex, they're going to need off-street parking.
Oh.
And I think a row of off-street parking is proposed for the area in just off of North State Street between the building and that area. So I expect that could be part of it.
Okay. Thank you.
Any,
Development agreement is in process. I mean, is it close or?
I think the development agreement is close. The city attorney was working on it. It's actually, I think, going to be fairly short. It's basically going to say we'd like to review and approve the appropriate documents that are going to exist between the two parties. You know,
any further discussion? We have a motion and a seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? None being said, motion carried. And our next item of business is item 3, status of revisions to the zoning and subdivision regulations. Look
Okay.
for staff.
We're currently working on Section 7, which is the special purpose districts, and that is finished, more or less, and I have material to present to you. So it's a matter of, scheduling a date and time. With the holiday season coming up, I think that perhaps makes things a little bit more difficult to schedule a meeting. So we're probably looking after the first of the year, perhaps, to try to schedule something. Unless you want to try to take a crack at the next couple of weeks. I'm going to be here, so.
Are there any potential hiccups that we're aware of that need to be addressed prior to the new school going process?
No.
None. Okay.
I expect that the new school, that you will see a plat for that, and you will also see a rezoning request for that.
Very good. Item 4, receive report on city council decisions concerning planning commission matters for December 2014.
Okay, at the December 2nd meeting, the council, in addition to approving the preliminary plat of that we just considered the final plat for, also approved a certificate of plat correction for the plat of Fair Hills Addition. Fair Hills Addition is located off of North Garden Street and US Highway 14, and was platted in 1966. And at that time, the plat had some mistakes in the width of the lots, and that showed up in the dimensions on the plat. They corrected the problem in the field. So the pipe, the monuments that were placed were appropriately located, but the plat was never corrected. And so what happened is when our engineering department tried to put the plat into the digital map that we have of the city, it didn't fit. We were off by 4 or 5 feet, and they, well, why is this? Because the later editions of Fair Hills have the correct width, for that span. So what you do in a case like that is you have a plat correction certificate that is processed and then filed with the county recorder. So at the December 16th meeting, the council approved the issuance of a gravel pit license to MR Paving and Excavating for their operation, behind Christ the King Church. They approved the proposed 2015 capital improvement program, which has, again, emphasizes improvements to existing street and utility systems. They approved a 5-year contract for legal services with Nierengarten and Hippert. And I don't know if I advised you of this previously, but Roger Hippert will be the new city attorney. And then finally, they approved the 2015 budget. That's it.
Okay, very good. Item 5, receive report on Heritage Preservation Commission activities.
Okay, the commission met on December 8th, and at that time, they reviewed a fence for the Kiesling House property. This will be located toward the rear of the house, and you may remember for the 150th celebration that there was a barricade that was constructed on a portion of the property, and the materials that were used to construct the barricade became a housing site for a number of rodents. And so the barricade had to be disassembled. And so in place of that barricade, now they're gonna, or the wood, they're gonna put up a fence that'll have fewer locations for those animals. Then they also talked about residing and the shingling of the Kiesling House, which was part of a study that was done within the past 2 years, and I think they're going to pursue some grant opportunities with regards to those improvements. Right now, we kind of have a continuing problem with the siding. Whenever we paint it, it peels within, a year, so there's some issues there. And the building needs to be shingled as well, so. That's it?
Is there a tenant?
Yes. What is it, Prairie? Something with...
It's a relatively new nonprofit that is it isn't Friends of the Prairie, but it's something like Keepers of the Prairie. Thank you. Keepers of the Prairie. So, and the terms are the same as they have been, which is no rent, but you've got to pay the utilities and
Right.
keep the place up. So we'll see. I can't rattle off who's. Not everybody in that organization is from New Ulm. In fact, people from all over southern Minnesota. So we'll see.
All right, no further business.
Aren't we going to thank Mr. Skilling at least for his
Oh,
time
yes.
and effort?
Yes, bravo.
That he's
Yep,
put in.
yes.
I think at least a thank you should be for his
Yes.
time and input in the planning commission.
Especially 2 terms.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, thank you.
All right. No more discussion. Meeting adjourned.
Boom.